thank you for joining us on Weather Out West, the hour-long show where we showcase what's happening weather-wise across the western United States. I'm meteorologist Leah Pizzetti, and today is Tuesday, January 13th. I hope your day is off to a good start so far. We are going to get straight to our forecast today. We begin in Spokane, Washington, where it is their second straight day of warm temperatures. However, as the weather stabilizes, it's expected to create early fog for the next several mornings. Meteorologist Thomas Patrick is in Spokane with more on the weather impact alerts they have issued.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington. It has been beautiful to start this week. Very warm weather and got it up to 50 degrees yesterday. So let's see if we can't duplicate that for today's weather. A bit of a cloudier start, yes, but sometimes cloud cover at night can keep us a little bit more mild to start the day. So looking like we'll hit 50 degrees in January for now a second straight day here. Though the fog tomorrow is going to be a whole different weather pattern. It should have actually stayed in the 40s or 50s, but the fog is going to have something else to say about that. So here are the high temperatures on Monday, starting off the week. 50 exactly in Spokane, 51 in Pullman, warm spot 54 in Lewiston. Also check out the Tri-Cities. Richland got up to 62 degrees yesterday. This was almost record highs. The record was 53 yesterday. And guess what? The record's also 53 today as well. Same forecast at 50 degrees. So just 3 degrees shy of that. It will start to get much colder tonight thanks to the clearer skies that we'll have, but that will lead to a different and separate issue. So enjoy one more beautiful January day. A lot of that snow having melted off from last week. Haven't seen very much except those big mounds that are in the parking lot. So 50 degrees the high temperature today in Spokane and 52 in Pullman. So tomorrow we'll be alerting the Eastern Washington residents to fog. And fog can be a tricky thing to forecast for. Sometimes it's just morning of. When I'm doing my forecasting in the morning, if I notice some of the camera images starting to turn foggy, that usually signals that it's time to alert. In this case, I got a 24 hours heads up for Wednesday morning's foggy conditions, just because the ingredients are lining up in just the right way. So just be cautious on the roadways tomorrow morning. Do make sure to use those low beams if you have them. Keep the headlights turned on, especially after sunrise, to help with visibility. Models tend to actually not do a very good job when it comes to fog forecasting because it is such a fine and precise measure of this particular weather. But a quarter-mile visibility is popping up on the modeling, and even these valleys to the north. Now, the mountains will stick up and above the fog, but the valley floors will undergo what's called a temperature inversion, aka it gets colder the lower in elevation you go. That layer of air will hold the excess moisture and that fog, leading to dense fog being a bit more widespread for the region. So the ingredients that we need is a pretty calm forecast, clear skies, and a little bit of excess moisture. Remember, all that snow still melting away. So that's where the moisture is coming from in this particular case. And a calm weather pattern overhead keeps those winds calm. And as we'll see today, the skies will be quite clear. So we do have kind of a perfect forecast of ingredients for fog to develop in the inland northwest. Again, very subtle as you see on the modeling, but this is just a stable enough weather pattern to make it likely that we're just going to get fog almost day in and day out. It does look likely for Wednesday and Thursday for now, maybe on Friday, but really forecasting fog more than 24 hours in advance, it's kind of rare enough as it is. So we have gone weather impact alert days for Wednesday and Thursday. Dense fog advisory is likely to be issued, though we may wait and see how much or how widespread that fog will ultimately be. But I can tell you this, it's going to get colder as a result of it, with highs in the 30s.
Thanks, Thomas. And it is a similar stagnant pattern nearby in Idaho. They're not seeing much change in the hazy conditions as an air stagnation advisory is in place until Friday morning. Hector Mendoza has the forecast from Boise.
Well, here's a look at these hazy hues here in this winter view looking off into the distance. Of course, this is our sunset here for yesterday. Marla McCall had posted this. You could really see where some of these hazier conditions have really stuck around, especially as we look at many of the valley spots, and even looking out at this muted sunset view here there out at Lake Lowell. We are going to continue to see a lot of these conditions are going to stick around here and through the next couple of days as this inversion really starts to stick around and strengthen here and through the middle of the week. And those temperatures didn't really change too much from what we saw on Sunday. Continued into the low 40s here for the Treasure Valley. Very similar in the Magic Valley. And some of the temperatures we anticipated getting up much higher here still stayed below freezing there in Stanley and McCall here through most of the afternoon, with warmer temperatures coming along those low 40s out in Haley. But as we compare these temperatures here to the past maybe week and a half or so, we will continue to see above average temperatures, but not nearly well above like we saw there on that Saturday, where we saw almost 60 degrees into the 50s that we saw on Sunday on the 4th. But a lot of these low 40s are going to continue here through the rest of this week, and it's possible that we see that extend at least in through the middle of next week. But as we continue on here through the rest of the month, a lot of these average temperatures will start to climb up into those low 40s, so we'll start to even out here through the end of January. But we will continue with those quiet sort of stretch that continues here through the rest of this week. That inversion, as I mentioned, will continue to strengthen here into the middle of the week, so fog and low stratus will continue to be a possibility here into the next couple of nights and even into the morning, as we'll see a little bit more of that clearing. So those clouds will definitely be a factor in terms of that fog that could develop here across southwest Idaho. A lot of these conditions have stayed stagnant, dry and cool here due to this high pressure system that will continue to bring pockets of cold air that will sink and continue to stay trapped in some of those valleys. And that is why these temperatures will continue to stay cool. The other thing we're paying attention to is the air quality. We mentioned it a little bit earlier, but we will see some of those hazier conditions will start to impede in some of that air quality. That is why right now we are forecast and we're sticking around that yellow or moderate air quality. So for those folks that are very sensitive to the air pollutants, that's something to really keep in mind. Try to limit your time outdoors here across the Treasure and Magic Valleys. But this is a look at some of the temperatures here for tomorrow. This is tomorrow morning, 26 degrees. So again, staying below freezing here in through the next couple of mornings. And here's where we're going to stand, as we're not expecting to surpass the upper 20s here and not expecting to start to climb into those low 30s. So again, expecting to see a little bit more of some of those frostier conditions. So that is something to really keep in mind, especially as that frost will start to develop on those windshields and even on some of those grassy areas through the next couple of mornings. And then again, we mentioned these temperatures not really changing too much, sticking around those low 40s here across the Treasure Valley. Mid 40s there through Mountain Home is what's expected for tomorrow, and then further east and through the Magic Valley. We're also expecting to see Fairfield and Haley start to be as warm as some of those valley spots, as again, that's where the inversion comes in, and that's how it impacts some of those mountain spots. But as we look at the 7-day forecast, again, not really seeing much of those changes, and that's something that I feel like I'm a broken record, just kind of repeating low 40s, low 40s, low 40s all the way in through the middle of the weekend. And then we're expecting just slightly warmer temperatures in through Monday with those conditions sticking around.
Thank you, Hector. Staying in Boise, this morning, 3 snowmobilers are safe after being stranded in Moores Creek. Last night, Boise County officials got a call about 3 snowmobilers in the Pilots Creek area that needed rescuing. The all-volunteer rescue team came together in just 45 minutes to get the riders to safety. Boise County Sheriff's Office says that although the 3 snowmobilers were mostly prepared, they missed one key step: having cold weather gear strong enough for an unexpected night stay. Still ahead after the break, a skiing trip turns deadly due to an avalanche in western Washington. What this shows about the dangerous current backcountry conditions. We'll have that when we come back. Welcome back. In Oregon, volunteers helped the Hood River County Sheriff's Office rescue a couple of climbers over the weekend. The Sheriff's Office says one of the climbers fell into White River Glacier while the 2 were on Mount Hood Saturday. The Sheriff's Office says climbing conditions are challenging right now because of variable snow conditions and warm temperatures. So with that, let's get to our weather in Oregon right now. It's been cold and foggy in the morning. It's the big story of today. Let's go now to meteorologist Rod Hill, who is tracking the dry stretch of weather the Rose City is having and what that means for visibility each morning.
From the Rose City, where it's a big coat morning, meaning temperatures have gotten down to freezing. I'm meteorologist Rod Hill. I want to start up at the mountain and show you something that's about as impressive as it ever gets. Now, beautiful morning. Look at the white contrast with the blue skies. Here's what's impressive. 48 degrees this morning. It's been 31 at PDX. So that's nearly a 20-degree temperature difference. It's called the temperature inversion. That much warmer up in elevation, that much colder down low. And you just don't see these temperature inversions get beyond 20 degrees hardly ever. There were parts of the valley this morning that were 29. So again, that's mighty strong. Timberline would be up in the low 50s today. We had some folks that were rescued on the mountain, Mount Hood, yesterday. And a reminder that these warm nights and warm afternoons lead to soft snow. And that's not what you want for climbing, obviously, if you don't know. You don't want soft conditions. Okay, here's Cascade forecast. 52 at Timberline, 48 Government Camp, 52 at Mount Hood Meadows. Obviously, we're going to be melting some of the snow that fell last week that we were so tickled to get. How cold has it been? Well, this map might be adjusted downward a degree or so when the final report comes out, but as of mid-morning, 29 is the low reported at Troutdale, Vancouver, and Aurora, 31 Portland. It's actually the first freeze of January out at PDX. 30 down in Salem. It's been foggier in Salem than it has in Portland. Portland's seen some fog this morning around the Willamette River, but not much in the downtown core area. The cloud flow that we had over the weekend and that we pulled out of yesterday has shifted well to our north. So once we lose valley fog pockets, we ought to be just pretty much sunny today. Now, Futurecast does show some low cloud areas hovering in the valley. What the modeling is really biting on heavily is a push of low marine cloudiness, maybe mixed with some valley fog, tomorrow morning. And as I play this through the day, notice a lot of this low cloudiness in the valley doesn't get out of here. So if we fail to get any sun, it could stay cloudy tomorrow. If that's the case, low to mid 40s would be the high, and it would be the coolest day of the week. Now, east winds are expected to finally pick up along the Columbia River at the surface and blow into the North Willamette Valley starting Thursday morning. If that's the case, we'll be fog-free, marine layer cloud-free, and just sunny skies would get us well back up into the 50s. Portland hit 55 on Monday afternoon, yesterday. All right, our coast, we've had some clouds up on the north coast. This is our Central Beach, Lincoln City, Chinook Woods Casino Resort, just gorgeous. It was 60 degrees here yesterday along the Oregon coast in Lincoln County. Crazy. And it could be about the same today. When we get these high pressure ridges and the temperature inversion setups, the coast is almost always the garden spot in terms of not much wind, sunny skies, really warm weather. And that will be the case again today. We have a brand new camera. This is up in Seaside. You can see some of the blue skies with some low clouds kind of hovering along the shore there. Our 7-day is all dry. 49 today. Maybe we get up into the low 50s. Tomorrow, if clouds hover throughout the day, low to mid 40s would be it. And there's the east wind giving us clear skies and warming numbers to 54 on Thursday and Friday. And right now our 7 days dry, including Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Monday.
Thanks, Rod. Tragedy in Washington's backcountry as two friends are swept away and killed in an avalanche. This happened around Longs Pass in Kittitas County, about 2.5 hours from Seattle. Seattle's Eric Wilkinson has the story.
Photos from the Kittitas County Sheriff's Office show search crews working to rescue and recover four friends who went backcountry skiing Friday. An avalanche hit around 6,200 feet. Only 2 people made it out alive.
There's nothing about what we've seen so far has indicated that there was any recklessness on anybody's part. Terrible things sometimes happen.
The friends were skiing near Longs Pass at the northern tip of Kittitas County, 10 miles deep in the backcountry, accessible only by snowmobile or helicopter. They're all said to be experienced and well-trained. Things were going fine until one man took his third run of the day.
One of the gentlemen took his first turn. It broke the snowpack loose, and an avalanche was created that took all 4 men down. It was happenstance.
This was the second fatal incident in our mountains in 2 days. Last Thursday, a 27-year-old man crashed headfirst into a snow-covered creek while snowboarding at Stevens Pass. he suffocated. In this case, search and rescue crews traversed some of the toughest terrain in the Cascades. The only thing that saved the two survivors, their satellite 911 communication system.
This was some of the same terrain that we were searching for Travis Decker, remote, rugged, steep mountains. And when you cover those with snow, it becomes even more challenging.
This winter came late. The ski season pushed back weeks because of warm rainstorms. Skiers are eager to get outdoors, with 2 to 4 feet of snow falling in the mountains last week. But those dream conditions can come with major risks.
The mountains have got an amazing amount of snow over the past week, and combining all that snow with the wind over the past few days, we've created some, uniquely dangerous avalanche conditions.
Authorities urging all backcountry lovers to weigh the risks with the thrills.
It's tragic and random, and we feel for their families.
The two survivors were not seriously injured. Meantime, experts from here at the Northwest Avalanche Center at Sand Point have been out to that scene analyzing it to see if there is anything they can learn from it. In Seattle, Eric Wilkinson, King 5 News.
We continue to monitor those dangerous backcountry conditions in Washington's mountains, but are also watching an overall dry and mild spell for a good chunk of western Washington. Meteorologist Rich Marriott is in Seattle tracking fog potential in western Washington.
Hi, I'm King 5 meteorologist Rich Marriott, and we have something happening which hasn't happened yet in 2026. We may actually have an entirely dry day out at SeaTac. The entire month, we've had at least a trace for every day, and oftentimes much more than that, as you know. Today, we've got a little bit of mist going on, primarily up to the north, nowhere near our climatological station there at SeaTac, so we will get through the day dry, and it'll be the first time in 2026, which is kind of amazing. And looking out this morning, you see there in Port Andrews, seeing a little bit of the fog we've had around this morning, and that's where mist has been largely coming out of that fog around the area. It's all low level, and it's already burning off in quite a few places, and we should trend towards partly to mostly sunny everywhere as we head towards later on this morning. Everett, which was seeing some of that mist earlier, you can see looking a lot nicer now with skies trying to clear, and definitely clearing there in Seattle. A little while ago, you were able to see the top of Mount Rainier, so the trend there is good as we settle into what's going to be a fair weather pattern here for at least the next week to 10 days. Out of the airport, the sun's starting to break out there a little bit this morning, and you can see out at Westport along the coast seeing a little bit of fog, and that's going to be primarily our problem here for the next week to 10 days is a formation of fog in the morning and then timing when that's going to burn off as we head towards the afternoons. Checking the rainfall so far this month, it's been a good month, that's for sure, at least if you like rain. You can see there in Bellingham, we're about over 1.5 inches ahead of normal, and out at SeaTac, which finished last year well below its normal for the year, we're off to a flying start. We're over 1 inch ahead for the month, and of course, since it's January, also 1 inch ahead for the year, which we have not seen that in a long time. Olympia seems to have gotten cheated at this point because they're only 0.12 of an inch above normal, but they may catch up at any time. Take a look at temperatures this morning. They have been very mild. Normal high out at the airport right now, 58 degrees, and we've been running in the low to mid 50s all morning. And it looks like some places might get close to the record for today, which is around 58. So we're going to be looking for the temperatures to maybe tie or set a record as we head towards this afternoon. Checking the 7-day forecast, you can see we're in a dry pattern. We're going to be seeing more clouds and fog tomorrow, maybe some areas of dense fog tomorrow. Slow to clear off in the afternoon, but then we just settle into that theme of pretty much morning clouds and fog and afternoon sun all the way through the weekend and into next week, with the highs settling back closer to normal, right around 50 degrees. Look at the satellite image, big area high pressure sitting off the coast. That's going to stay in place all the way through the weekend into next weekend. There's some indications that it might stay there all the way through the following weekend, but it's still a ways out. That could change, but it's forcing those storm systems well to the north of us, leaving us high and dry. And then as we have the cooling at night and the wet ground, we'll see that fog form every day and then burn off for the afternoons. Importantly, as we head towards the end of the week and the weekend, as we head on towards the Seahawk game, we're going to be looking for things to clear out with more sunshine during the day. So that's good in terms of game time on Saturday. Looking at the future cast, you can see as that bridge builds, it forces all the rainfall well to the north of us, and as we move towards the weekend, it gets further and further away. So we're no threats of seeing any precipitation, it looks like, at least to the middle part of next week. Take a look at the forecast there for the mountains. You can see looking pretty nice with the sun starting to come out there at Hurricane Ridge and also there at Paradise on Mount Rainier. If you headed across the passes this morning, they've had a little bit of light rain, basically no restrictions though because you have barren wet pavement. It is going to be pretty mild up in the mountains. If you do head up there skiing, you're going to pretty much be looking at spring skiing. Temperatures are going to be running mostly in the low to mid 40s up there for the next 7 days, the base for the Snoqualmie area. So don't forget the sunglasses and the sunscreen if you're headed up there to enjoy that. And they have enough of a base at the ski areas right now, and they're going to freeze at night, and some of them will make snow to refresh the surface. They should be able to keep the pack skiing in pretty good shape. But if you're looking for powder, you may have 10 days to 2 weeks until there might be any more of that around the area. So checking that extended forecast for here in the lowlands. Morning clouds and fog today already giving way to partly to mostly sunny skies. Tomorrow we're going to see it be a lot more persistent, some locally dense fog in the morning, maybe only a few afternoon sun breaks. Temperatures will also cool back closer to normal, only getting to the upper 40s tomorrow. And then Thursday all the way through the weekend, as I said, variations on morning clouds and fog and afternoon sun, but the trend towards the weekend is going to be for more sunshine in the afternoons, which should give us sunshine and temperatures in the mid to upper 40s at kickoff for the Seahawks at 5 o'clock on Saturday.
Thank you, Rich. We are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, 1 year ago, the Eaton and Palisades fires were ravaging Los Angeles. We're looking back at the devastation and the road to recovery. This month marks 1 year since the start of the deadly wildfires that ravaged Southern California. Fast-moving twin fires erupted at opposite ends of Los Angeles County, destroying more than 16,000 structures, many of them homes. Combined, the Eaton and Palisades fires killed at least 31 people. Maribel Gonzalez reports on the road to recovery and why it's been so difficult for many.
From above, the literal scars of California's Palisades and Eaton fires in 2025 are unmistakable.
The winds that morning strengthened with every passing minute. The pace of the fire quickened until the air was thick with smoke.
The historic blazes reshaping entire neighborhoods in Altadena and Pacific Palisades.
As the fire spread, the streets emptied, and one by one, houses burned. Churches and businesses, schools, and beloved community landmarks were lost.
More than 16,000 buildings were collectively destroyed in the fires. A year later, recovery for some still seems unattainable.
Recovery doesn't happen on an anniversary timeline. For many families, the road back has been slow, uncertain, and deeply frustrating.
The Los Angeles Mayor's office says to date, over 400 projects are confirmed to have started construction in Pacific Palisades. California State Senator Sasha Renee Perez, who represents Altadena, says while many residents here have broken ground to rebuild, others remain in limbo.
They're staying with friends. They are having to be more creative and figuring out, how to survive during this time.
Insurance claims have proven to be a lengthy and sometimes complicated process for some of Perez's constituents. Add to that a pending lawsuit against Southern California Edison, the electrical utility for Los Angeles, for its alleged role in starting the Eaton fire. That investigation is ongoing.
I have talked to so many people that have been burning through their savings, burning through their retirement, trying to figure this situation out.
But what the fires could not destroy, many here say, is their sense of community. This week, Los Angeles-based rock band Dawes organizing a sold-out concert to raise funds for Altadena's fire victims. For the band's drummer, Griffin Goldsmith, this is personal. He lost his own home during the Eaton fire.
People move off as they would because there's a lot going on in the world. But for us that were impacted, the reality is that the real work's just beginning.
The road to rebuilding may be long, but Griffin says they are banding together to make sure those affected are helped along the way.
Obviously, it's not going to be the same, but I think that we're all just embracing this will be something else beautiful, because the fact is the people are what make it beautiful.
In Los Angeles, Maribel Gonzalez reporting.
When we come back, we are going to take you to Colorado and show you the moment skiers are swept away in an avalanche. It's all caught on camera. That video is after the break. Check this out. Another avalanche to report, this time in Colorado. These scary moments for a group of skiers caught on camera while they were swept away. It happened at Rocky Mountain National Park. Officials say a group was skiing and splitboarding, which triggered the slide. One person caught in the avalanche dislocated his shoulder and was briefly buried before ending up on the surface. Ski officials say it's important to be careful in the backcountry right now.
Shallow snow means weak snow, and when you add new snow on top of weak snow, it also means avalanches.
The other two people in this video were not injured. Everyone, thankfully, made it out safely, but such an important thing to keep in mind this time of the year, especially as we are seeing so many areas along the West Coast with those warmer temperatures on top of that snow. And you only have 15 minutes when you're buried in an avalanche before your life becomes in jeopardy. With that, let's get to the forecast for Colorado. It's been a slow start to the snowpack season there. Meteorologists Kathy Sabin and Jaden Knowles have a look at if snow chances are arriving anytime soon.
Hello from Denver, Colorado. We are enjoying kind of a string of days with warm, dry weather, which makes everything easier. But if you want to go skiing and if you start worrying about the snowpack and then the water in the mountains, this is not a great pattern. With the storm track to the north of us, we have seen unusually dry conditions for not weeks, but several months now. With all of the cold and snow off to the east of us, this trough sliding through the Midwest into the Northeast, where it will tap into some cold air, and we're going to miss out on the whole thing. And the drought monitor shows we still have some areas of concern across Colorado with extremely dry conditions in the northwest corner of the state, the western slope, and the Four Corners area. And so with the arrival of a weak front today, I think we're only going to see some high and mid-level clouds and maybe the temperatures fluctuating a little bit. Further upstream is a second stronger front that will come in from the northwest on Friday, but not seeing that appreciable snow or even colder weather that we're so accustomed to seeing in the month of January. So with this dominant ridge over Colorado, the storm track north, we're seeing rain from Portland to Seattle, snow in the Wasatch Range. All of the incoming storms are tracking through the northern Rockies, into the Midwest, and into the Northeast, where we're seeing cold and snow impact travel across several regions of the country. For us, we start with sunshine. We have those high clouds coming in. It's basically a dry forecast with maybe a sprinkle on the Northeast plains and maybe a couple of snow showers in the northern mountains, but not enough to make a real difference. So we'll start in the 30s this morning, warm back to the low 60s this afternoon, way above the average of 45. But we get those seasonal numbers back in at the end of the week with a storm system we're tracking that may bring at least some beneficial mountain snow. At this point, Denver looks dry through the rest of this week into next weekend, which maybe isn't a terrible thing since the Broncos have a really big football game coming up on Saturday afternoon.
I'm Weather Impact Team Meteorologist Jaden Knowles here in Denver, Colorado. Yeah, right outside of Empower Field. We got a big weekend coming up. The Broncos take on the Buffalo Bills at 2:30, but we were really waiting for that time to be released because there is a lot of weather going on. So far, though, if you take a look at your screen there, you can see really what's happening across the country right now. We got a big dip in the jet stream pushing very cold air into the eastern half of the United States. Now, that strong low pressure system is responsible for that cold, and Colorado is really sitting right on the edge of it. But meanwhile, to our west, a strong area of high pressure is bringing record-breaking warmth to California, which just shows how sharp this temperature contrast really is. For us here in Denver, it all comes down to where the wind is coming from Saturday afternoon around the 2:30 kickoff. Right now, it looks like winds will be coming out of the northwest, but that's good news because northwest winds means downsloping winds, which helps keep temperatures more comfortable for fans at the stadium. Right now, we are forecasted for 51 degrees and honestly, that's really nice and comfortable to start. It could get a little chilly, though, as we head into the evening hours around 8 p.m. But if those winds were to turn out of the north, that colder air would slide straight into Denver and make for a much colder Broncos game. But at this point, the forecast is leaning towards the more comfortable scenario. So we'll be watching those winds shift closely over the next couple of days. But, I mean, overall, we're going to have lots of Broncos fans here. And I know you're watching over there towards the West Coast as well. I hope you're rooting on for the Broncos. Well, I know the 49ers are in the playoffs, but overall, I'm here at Empower Field. Jaden Knowles, 9 News.
Okay, Colorado's looking good. Seattle's game this weekend, 49ers and Seahawks is looking good. Looks like our playoff weather across the board, looking good. Well, it is a mild weather pattern in Arizona as well. Meteorologist Ginger Jeffries is watching the comfortable 70s that dominate this week.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries. We'll look at your weather out west where, yeah, we are contending with some winds. It's branching off from a Santa Ana wind event that really typically stays in Southern California, but it has basically broken those boundaries and brought in some stronger winds. We saw the force of that over the weekend with wind speeds up to 50 miles an hour, and now those Santa Ana or offshore winds continue to brush the northern tier of the state. We're not seeing it widespread. What we are seeing widespread is views like this. Yes, the skies are going to be abundantly clear. We got rid of those thin clouds that just kind of were streaking across the sky yesterday, and now it's game time. I'm talking about temps that are going to be warming up. I don't think we're going to snap any records, but we're going to be within reach. We're kicking things off with about 72 degrees today in Phoenix, and look at this, abundance of clear skies, but here we go. Once again, those winds that I mentioned are just kind of brushing the state. They start in the northeast and they blow off to the southwest, so it's that offshore wind event, and traditionally we don't see it, but we continue to get a little bit of that wind, especially on this northwest tier of the state. Meantime, temperature-wise, you could see everybody is slightly elevated, certainly a far cry from where we were last week. That means mid-70s for places like Yuma. We've got 71 in Tucson, 60 in Payson, 51 in Flagstaff, and right about 76 today in Parker. Looking ahead, next 7 days. All right, I mentioned numbers are going to be climbing, and a high country, I don't think you're going to get into record territory, but when we see numbers like the upper 70s, when our normal range is the upper 60s, that means I'm going to start consulting the record books. And as you can see, the forecast 76 to about 78 on Friday, not going to be enough to snap these records. I mean, the records for us are in the low 80s, 81s, and 83s. So yes, above the normal range, but I don't think it's going to be record territory. What's going on? High pressure building in, and again, we're still getting that offshore sweep. You can see it right there indicated by the wind vectors, but it's not going to be felt statewide. Instead, high pressure and the wind element keeping our skies nice and clear. So look for commanding sunshine and bright blue skies outside. As far as the wind speeds go today, I mentioned the 50-mile-an-hour winds over the weekend. I think we'll cap things out at about 25, possibly 30 miles an hour for Bullhead City, 20-mile-an-hour winds in Flagstaff. But look at the rest of the region. I mean, Phoenix, we're going to be under 10 miles an hour today and calming tonight. So again, it's a very isolated wind event, and it's really not going to impact our bottom line much at all because temperatures will just continue to climb. So enjoy it. It's going to be a beautiful day in the Valley of the Sun with daytime highs at about 71 degrees today. Again, not going to get up to record territory today, even though those records are a little lower at 79. I just don't think we're going to be within reach. And we still continue to see very mild mornings. I mean, check this out. We're starting things off in the 40s, staying in the 50s and 60s through the noon hour, but we should get those numbers up to about 72 degrees when all is said and done. Now in Flagstaff, after you saw several inches of snow last week, well, I mean, you got good snowmaking conditions overnight. During the day, though, it's certainly on the warmer side in the 40s and 50s. Here for the valley, we've got numbers that are climbing. It looks like the warmest days of the week begin on Wednesday, and they're holding through the early part of next week. I mean, yeah, we're going to get up to about 78 degrees, but the moral of this weather story is above normal and holding.
Thank you, Ginger. Still ahead after the break, we are heading to the Golden State with a check on our forecast from northern to southern California as we keep an eye on if Santa Ana winds will continue for Southern California. Welcome back to Weather Out West. Thanks for sticking with us. We are going to head to our California forecasts now. We'll start in the northern part of the state. Meteorologist Monica Woods is tracking a mild pattern for Northern California, which does lend itself to fog formation, as we've heard many of our regions discuss. She joins us now from Sacramento with a look at the forecast.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods, and we're looking at a pattern shift heading our way through much of this week. A look at our regional headlines. For the coast, mostly sunny skies. For the valley, continuing to deal with some cold mornings ahead. Now, it's going to be sunny and warm for the foothills. For the Sierra, quite a dry stretch heading our way, but we've had a nice gain in our snowpack. At the beginning of December, when we hit that dry stretch, things were looking pretty bleak, but then all of a sudden we got those holiday storms. Look at the difference in our contour. So a lot more in the way of snowpack in the higher elevations. Nice to see those gains. But now we hit that dry stretch. So kind of trying to calibrate where things stand, especially in what should be our wettest month of the year. This is the sheer precipitation totals throughout the state. And what you'll notice is perhaps the bigger numbers, and that's how far above average we are, particularly through Southern California. Northern California, we're going to start to see those numbers dwindle pretty quickly. Again, this is typically the wettest month of the year, so we should be starting to see those numbers pick up. But dry stretches aren't terribly uncommon at this point in the season. It's just we don't want to see it last too long, but it's feast or famine here. We hit 2 weeks of storms and then 2 weeks of dryness. As long as we pick up those storms again in February, which is our second wettest month, things are looking pretty good. And also reservoirs were already really healthy coming into this water year. What we have to deal with in the short-term forecast, frost and fog throughout much of the Central Valley. We see a touch of that into our Tuesday. Things will erode pretty quickly during the afternoon, but then it becomes a bit more widespread into our Wednesday. So that's how things are going to start to play out, and it's going to be rinse and repeat here for the next couple of days, especially as we start to see that inversion. Foothill temperatures will be quite warm during the afternoon, and if we don't break out of that fog, that means we get pretty sucked in. Remember back in December when we hit that stretch of 40-degree highs for quite some time? That's what we're going to be looking at and tracking that to see how that high pressure ridge will play out deeper into the forecast. In the meantime, let's take a look at our Tuesday numbers. Highs in the 40s to near 50 for the high country. We're in the 60s down the hill. Overnight lows are only falling into the 40s to near 50. That's going to be quite a contrast from what the valley is going to be seeing deep in the 30s. For the Central Sierra, highs are in the 50s and low 60s as we head down the hill into the Central Valley. Again, watch out for areas of fog. Highs will be warming into the 50s, still looking at the potential of at least clearing those skies. Now, a real key indicator, look at these Central Coast conditions. Highs are in the 70s through the Monterey Bay Peninsula all the way through the Central Coast. San Luis Obispo at 75 degrees. Central Valley locations in the upper 50s to low 60s. So we're kind of sitting in the middle of these warm conditions along the coast and in the foothills, while the valley is going to be a little bit cooler. Bay Area forecast, we're in the 60s all through Point Reyes, 66 degrees. Antioch, though, once we head towards the Delta, only at 55, and overnight lows are in the upper 30s. Along the northwest coast, a little bit cooler, 50s to low 60s, and inland areas on the north end of the valley are going to be in the 60s, as well as the capital region, upper 50s to low 60s, heading into our Tuesday forecast. So beyond that, things are really going to start to warm up, especially for the Sierra, where we'll likely see a little bit of patchiness forming at lake level for the snowpack. Highs are close to 70 by Thursday for the foothills, and our extended forecast continuing to showcase areas of morning fog, partial afternoon clearing, watching for the extension of those foggy and frosty conditions into next week.
Thank you, Monica. Now to Southern California. Santa Ana winds have been top of mind in Southern California. And of course, this comes as we are at the 1-year marker for those deadly Southern California fires. So obviously people are paying attention to this. Meteorologist Vanessa Paz is in San Diego watching how much that pattern will threaten San Diego County moving forward this week.
Happy Tuesday from San Diego, California. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. All right, as we get our Taco Tuesday, as we love to call it, going, we are going to continue with this dry and warm pattern. I'll do to a system, a ridge of high pressure, and we'll get into that in a moment. But that paired with easterly winds is contributing to extremely unusually warm temperatures for this time of the year. Highs by the middle of the week will be anywhere between 10 to 15 degrees warmer than normal, especially for those areas away away from the coast. And although Santa Anas are subsiding a little bit, we're actually looking at potentially another increase in those winds towards the end of the week. All right. So here's a look at today's high temperatures across the board. In downtown San Diego, we're aiming for mid-70s. Typically, we should be in the high 60s, not only for the coastal areas, but also for the inland valley. So we'll be touching close to 80 degrees in Ramona later on this afternoon. And that puts us anywhere between 8 to nearly 15 degrees above average. Meanwhile, we'll be about 5 degrees above normal for Borrego Springs with a high of 75 later on today. So here's at Ridgey. Notice how the jet stream well to our north, which means that's where the cooler air is as well. So a ridge of high pressure, also known as a dome of really warm air, paired with easterly winds, offshore winds coming out of the north-northeast, will continue to bring us warmer than usual temperatures, along with very dry conditions. You probably noticed you needed more of that chapstick and lotion. The air extremely dry. We're talking about teens for those relative humidity levels. So here are those winds. They're continuing to track out of the north-northeast, although they're not nearly as strong as some of the gusts that we saw over the past couple of days. We're still going to track some high winds, especially for the mountain areas, those wind-prone areas from Palomar Mountain out in Julian. We could see isolated gusts anywhere between 20 to 40 miles per hour, so 35-mile-per-hour gusts potentially later on today, as well as tomorrow afternoon for spots like Pine Valley. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the rain chances. In case you were wondering, hey, we're in winter, are we expecting any rain? The answer is absolutely not. In fact, we're going to stay bone dry today all the way through early next week. Now, although the warming trend takes over for the next couple of days, we do have some relief on the way looking ahead to early next week, and we'll actually take a look at that in just a moment. I do want to highlight the highs for Wednesday afternoon, because notice how we see a lot more 80s across the board. So the good news is the warmth peaks tomorrow. Unfortunately, we won't see a drastic change as far as a drop in temperatures go until we get to next week. So we'll be shooting for mid to low 70s. Not a lot of change for the coastal areas, but the biggest spread in comparison from today through tomorrow will be for the inland valleys. Here's a look at what you can expect for your 7-day coastal areas. We'll be in the mid to low 70s all the way through about Wednesday. It looks like the warmest day for the next 7 will be on Thursday, and then we'll drop about 5 degrees or so by the time we get to Friday. And finally, some relief for everyone by the time we get to the beginning of next week. You can expect 80s all the way through about Sunday for the inland valleys. We'll be in the mid 80s, but notice how those overnight lows remain quite cool in the 50s. So if you have any evening plans, I would highly recommend that you grab that jacket, because once the sun goes down, temperatures will plummet. The mountains and desert areas, we have one more day of the 60s, then we're in this range of the 70s starting tomorrow. High 70s this afternoon for the deserts, and then we're also tracking in the 80s beginning Wednesday, lasting all the way through next week.
Thanks, Vanessa. Still ahead, another check on the recovery in Southern California 1 year after those deadly fires. We'll have that story when we come back. Finally today, 1 year ago, the deadly Palisades and Eaton fires tore through Los Angeles County, devastating neighborhoods and changing the lives for so many. Alex Cheney with our San Diego station was in the Palisades 1 year ago and went back there to see the progress and the pain of reconstruction.
Strength, resilience, and Palisades pride. The Pacific Palisades look very different from 1 year ago when a fire destroyed thousands of homes and businesses.
So this is the main intersection of the Palisades Village. It was just across the street here where I watched that Chase Bank burn down to the ground.
And as you can see, this building is now fully engulfed. I don't think they're going to be able to save this at all.
But now there are signs of new life here in the Palisades Village as they are creating a new Chase Bank just across the street, and construction is happening right now.
It was like releasing anger.
As we walked around today, we saw many longtime Palisades residents angry at the city for not responding to the fire faster. The Lockman fire started days before and smoldered underground, becoming the Palisades fire during heavy Santa Ana winds.
There are winds coming that come every year, by the way. There was nobody there. Nobody thought to go look to see if the embers were still burning. That's really what pisses me off.
We then made our way closer to Rustic Canyon when I saw a familiar sight.
1 year ago, I watched this apartment building burned to the ground. And as you can see, this building is getting absolutely, completely ripped apart right now. There's lots of embers in the air, flames all the way from the street all the way up into the building. And now today, as you can see, it is just rubble. They're going to be doing some reconstruction in this area to bring all of the apartment complexes back that they can. This is the Rustic Canyon area of the Pacific Palisades. And this is actually a home that I watched burn down 1 year ago. You can see the flames are all the way through what I think used to be a 2-car garage. There's now flames that are on the side of the house. You can see it is moving up. Construction has already begun. You got a forklift moving some dirt around right now. It is incredible just to see what monuments, what incredible buildings and homes these used to be turned to rubble.
People have lost everything.
And on the street, we met a woman who was crying in her grief.
People's lives were torn apart because of this fire. And the worst part is you could read about it coming the night before.
Our hearts go out to everybody in Southern California as they continue to rebuild. Well, that does it for us here on Weather Out West on this Tuesday, January 13th. I'm meteorologist Leah Pizzetti. Thank you so much for sticking with me for the last hour. We will be right back here tomorrow, same time, same place. I hope everybody has a great day.